Hey, good morning, friends. Hello, hello. It's great to see everybody this morning. Hope you're doing well. Good morning. It is another day here in 1111 land. Jamie, hello, hello. Good to see you. I hope you are well. Karen, good morning. Glad you're here. Hello. Kevin, welcome. Glad to see you. Glad you're here. Good morning, Karen. Hope today is a great day for you. Enjoying this fall weather and the beauty of it all. I hope it is grand. Welcome, everybody. See a few more coming in, and we'll get going here on this Tuesday. So, rainy day in Maine. I know, because I'm actually in Maine right now. So, yeah, I'm up here on a quick rocket run to spend a little time with my mom and work out a few things. But, so, yeah, we are off campus today. Hi, Jane. Glad you're here. Hope you and John are well up there in the Granite State. Hey, John. Hope you're good, too. Glad. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. All right, we'll give it one more sec here and get going. So good to see your name. So good to welcome you here. So glad you're with us for these few moments. That I hope this can be a beautiful part of your day. I hope it's awesome. Like, not just because I'm going to say all kinds of cool things, but really that because you get a chance to spend just a little time with this little community of little digital faces staring at you, and with a group and in the embrace of this place that you'll be cared for and loved and prayed for and welcomed. So welcome to this community and welcome to be a part of this journey. Good morning, everybody. It is the 18th day of October, this Tuesday at 11:11, and and it is a joy to be here today and to be with you. I'm actually up in Maine right now, and spent a little time with my mom, and I've got a few house chores to do, and so it is grand to be off campus, and it's always fun to come and be a part of this journey. I want to look at this morning. I spent last week kind of in the embrace of friends. I know I talked about a little bit about it on Thursday, but that awesome time of just getting to reconnect with people that you admire and that admire you and that are strength for the journey, kind of like what we do here a little bit. But that in it, I had the opportunity to also spend a little time with my old seminary professor, who was just new to seminary when I arrived, and there, and has been teaching for the past 20 years, and has become a resource and a soul that has nourished and encouraged me. And so I want to read you this story from 1 Samuel, because it's a little bit long, and I know that we don't always do that, but I want you to hear this story and just hear how it unfolds, because I think there's something in it for us about us. The way we can see the world right now, because sometimes things get a little foggy and they get a little wonkadoodle and they get a little set on their ear, and I think that this task of listening and paying attention, the task of noticing when you are in the midst of a call from God, or just a conversation, or just the place of beauty, that we can be attentive to it. And so this is from 1 Samuel 3. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel was serving the Lord by assisting Eli. Now Samuel is the younger apprentice. He's a younger prophet. He's working in the temple, doing little temple-y things. And Eli is the older priest, and he is long in tooth and gray in beard, losing his eyesight, and has not always been the best of prophets. Be honest. He's tried, but he had some kids that didn't do so well, and so here he is though teaching Samuel. And in those days, messages from the Lord were very rare, and visions were quite uncommon. One night, Eli, who was almost blind by now, had just gone to bed. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was sleeping in the tabernacle near the ark of God. Suddenly the Lord called out, "Samuel, Samuel." "Yes," Samuel replied. "What is it?" And he jumped up and ran to Eli. "Here I am. What do you need?" "Yes," Samuel replied. What is it?" "And I didn't call you." And Eli replied, "Go on, go back to bed." And so he did. And then the Lord called it again, "Samuel!" Again, Samuel jumped up and ran to Eli. "Here I am. What do you need?" "I did not call you, my son," Eli said. "Go back to bed." Samuel did not yet know the Lord because he had never had a message from the Lord before. And so now the Lord called a third time. And once more Samuel jumped up and ran to Eli. "Here I am. What do you need?" And then Eli realized it was the Lord who was calling the boy. So he said to Samuel, "Go and lie down again. And if someone says, Yes, Lord," didn't discipline them. And so I have vowed that the sins of Eli and his sons will never be forgiven by sacrifices or offerings. Oh, what a brutal one. That here's Samuel working under Eli, and Eli, because of the problems that he has with his kids, is really not up to the task. I invite you to hear the story today because I think it's one of these ways of coming to appreciate the people in our life, and the people who have offered us something in the midst of our journeys, and the people that we get to offer something in the midst of their journeys. Tomorrow we're going to gather for a meal here. We at First Congregational we do our quarterly, every quarter, every about 3 months we get together. We have a big meal and we have a teaching. So it starts at 5:30, comes at 7:30, 7 o'clock. You are welcome. Love to see you. There's room and space and food for all. Lasagna. Who doesn't like lasagna? But we're going to gather, and actually our teaching is going to be on mentoring. And I don't really want to talk about it today, but simply to say that this way of offering ourselves as older folks to younger folks, and this way of younger folks offering their willingness to be led and taught to older folks, is actually one of the most crucial underpinnings of creation, really. It's hardwired into everything. Mama bears teach baby bears how to be bears, how to eat salmon. That even though they know how to be a bear, even though they know everything about bears, there's still this way in which they're learned into bearhood, and they're brought into that. Even at the fabric of creation, down to the very basics. There's research now that says even trees, like younger trees and older trees offer, like through the mycelium and through the root structure and through the mushrooms, that they actually offer nutrients and instruction in some ways to younger trees about how to get light, how to be better how to be a tree. I got last week to spend some time with my friend Greg Mobley, who I really call him my friend now. He's not just a mentor, not just a teacher, but I call him that. But he also had this way of offering me something, a way of being, of showing me a way of being. Not by, the hard kind of work of mentoring, of like getting a hold of somebody and doing that work. That's great work, and I'm going to encourage that. We're going to talk about that on Wednesday. But that's not the point. The point is that even this notion of sitting and learning at the feet of someone, and this is the thing about that story, that this was all a setup to get us to this place. So if you hear nothing else, this was the point of this. Even if they're imperfect, even if they didn't get it all right, even if they're not even able to step into the blessing of the next thing, what does Eli get from, or what does Samuel get from Eli? He gets the ability to hear God in his life. That's what he gets. Now, that actually ends up becoming an indictment of Eli, and I think that's kind of true often in terms of how we understand the growth of each generation. Each generation has the power of its own, of the revelation of its own truths, and that's not to say truths are relative. It's simply to say that there was a day when slavery was cool, and slavery isn't cool anymore, and that enslaving another human being actually is bad. There was that we now understand that because we have grown through generations and through life into greater, hopefully, love and connection with God. I want to invite you today to simply take note of those people in your life that offered you something, or if you are in a place where you could use that sort of thing, maybe submit yourself to it. And let them be imperfect. You see, Eli wasn't setting out to do harm. He wasn't setting out to disobey God. He wasn't setting out to, he simply couldn't discipline wild sons. So that was his great problem. I think we are entirely too condemning of both the generations that are behind us and the generations that came before us. You know, we're all kind of ready to point out the sins of every generation. Oh, millennials can't work. The Gen Zs are on their devices too much. Boomers just sucked all the good out of the world. I mean, there's every and every generation has its criticism. Every generation is right, but we need each other. We need each other. And it's the power of the church is that we're the last place in the world. We're the last place in the world where we actually come together 9 to 90 and everything in between. Where we actually can get to and experience and nurture each other. When we have all church family night, well, you know what it is? It's all church family. It is from the oldest of us to the youngest of us. We have programming for our little ones. We have the opportunity, but we all gather for the meal and it's one of the only places in this world, the only place left, where we actually have a cross-generational experience, and that an old person might admire a young person, and a young person might look up to that older person and say, they might have something. They might be able to offer me a way for me to hear God in the world. You see, that's the thing, friends. We're so busy looking for perfection. We're so busy looking for somebody that hasn't stepped in dog poo, that somebody doesn't have a little stink on them through the course of living. We're so we're so morally superior now in all the different ways in which we lift up, like, oh well, they're not sensitive to this, or not sensitive to that, or they're not tough enough in this area, tough enough in that area. And it's a job that's I think really too has been done on us. It's not, but we've picked it up. We've picked it up. And my invitation to you is set it down. Understand, you got your sins. The next generation has their sins, and the generation before you will have theirs. And none of that, and all of that is covered by the grace of God. And that if we journey together, that the pilgrim people journeying together, all of us, all generations coming through this world, walking each other home, if we stand in that place, we are nurtured and we are vivified and we hear the voice of God every time. Friends, we're all going to pay for our sins. And I don't mean that in like, some horrible judgmental God that's going to punish you. I mean that in the sense that when we make mistakes, when we fall down, when we skin our knee, it hurts. That sinning isn't sinning because God just said, "Oh, that's really fun, but I don't want you to do it." Sinning is sinning because it brings inherent pain to our lives. And we'll experience the pain of that if we end up in it. We don't have to go be busy judging all the people around us, judging the people that came before us, judging the people that come after us. We need to be busy and simply listening for the voice of God and taking the things that we don't understand, just like Samuel, to those who have experienced them before. Being willing to do that as Eli was willing. And the same way, being willing as an Eli to accept the fact that we got our problems, but also to know that we have wisdom. That we do know what it is sometimes to hear the voice of the Lord, and that others don't. And they desperately need that from us. And I cast that ambivalently, purposefully, so that you might understand all the different ways and all the different places that plays itself out. Whether, having a meal, or a coffee at a coffee store, or whether it's in the course of our work and life, or whether it's around a family table, or whether it's at table at church. Wherever we find it, wherever we find those engagements, we are depleting ourselves mightily by the disengagements between the generations that seem to have been fomented in these days. So I want to invite you that wherever you are on the journey of things, whether you're just starting out or just stepping onto the road, or whether you have many miles behind you and maybe your eyes, maybe like Eli, your eyes are getting a little weak. Wherever you are, nourish those in your midst. Nourish those who came before you, and nourish those who come after you. Submit to the wisdom of the generations ahead of you, understanding that even with all the problems they had, they still have a wisdom to grant you. It's my hope, friends, you'll step into this, because it truly, particularly this last week for me of spending some time in that space and with those people, that it truly was a nourishment to my soul, and I believe it can be a nourishment to yours too. All right, friends. All right, my Elis and Samuels. Go out there and listen for the voice of the Lord, and let all goodness come to you. We'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11. Peace and grace, my friends.